All right, let's talk about Bitcoin. First things first, I am next to a busy highway, so please bear with me as far as the sound. But I really want to jump into this technical analysis. You guys are going to hear me go over the technicals. Then I'm going to give myself some investment advice because I'm not a financial advisor. So you guys are just going to hear me give my future self some advice. And then I'm going to show you guys some clips from some news outlets of some talking heads such as Jim Cramer, Larry Fink, Charlie Munger, and Donald Trump, and let you guys see as to why I believe Bitcoin is on its way to $1 million per coin. Despite how outrageously crazy that sounds, I guarantee you if you watch this video, I will provide value and credibility as to why I believe that's where price is going to go. Okay. Starting out on the 12-month chart, I am looking at Bitcoin USD and I am using the Bitstamp chart here. And just look at this beautiful ebb and flow of this uptrend. It's nice, right? Bitcoin is very fair as far as price action. When we get these nice pushes up, there is a cool off, a higher push up, then a cool off, a higher push up, then a cool off, higher push up, right? So it's extremely fair, right? And it's just been maintaining its upward trajectory. You can see recently we had this 1 year imbalance. Price reaches into it, closes inside of it. The very next candle pushes out, closes bullish. And then this year is when we actually hit the external liquidity from this previous swing high. So beautiful price action there. If I drop down to the 6 month, you can see we also had this 6 month imbalance doing the same thing. First candle came in, closed inside the gap. Next candle takes out the previous candle's low. Then the third candle forms a swing low. We close outside of the gap, see that? And then price goes on to take out previous swing high. Beautiful. Dropping down to the 3 month, you can see as price was on its way to external liquidity, we did hit that on this candle right here, which was the first quarter of 2024. Then we formed a new 3 month imbalance. Price reached into that with one candle on the 3 month chart, closed outside of it, actually closed bullish. Let me show you that. So that bullish closure is just more confluence that price is willing to go higher. Look at the wick. Look at how we just came all the way down and then got bought right back up out of this area that was once inefficient. And then the very next candle pushes through external liquidity onwards higher. So what am I looking at right now? If I drop down to the monthly, take a look at this candle we're working with right now, December. Right now, we've had this small range candle in relation to the previous month of November, which was a large range candle. So we've been hovering up in this area for some time, pretty much all of December. What I'm thinking is price may want to form a monthly imbalance here. So let's say price was over the next 16 days. Let's just say it closed right where it is right now. Our imbalance would look like this, and this would be for our monthly time frame. Now, what price could do is use this area as a trampoline to go higher. So it looked like this. Price would drop down in here, use this as support to push higher. Exactly what happened back here on the 3 month time frame, right? But what I would prefer to see is something like this, where we get that imbalance created, and instead of reaching down into it on the very next candle, we instead leave it open as a breakaway gap and continue going higher. So if you look right here in this area, I'll draw that out. All right, in blue, here's what the imbalance looks like. And here's another example of one that was actually tested. And you can see the difference where after the creation of the imbalance happens, the next candle reaches into that area of inefficiency and then rejects, closes bullish, continues higher. But here you can see the next candle doesn't actually reach down into it. It just continues going higher, right? That's what I would like to see on current price. So the higher we close away from the current monthly low makes it less likely that we'll actually go back down to reach into that area. So if we close over the next 16 days, like up here, it's likely price is going to want to come all the way back down to 90K just to go higher. Okay. That's why I say instead of actually using this imbalance, I'm leaning towards price just wanting to continue going higher. But just so you understand, testing this does not mean that price is now going bearish. All right. This could just very well be a retracement similar to what we just had from the 3 month time frame. So let's hop down to the weekly, and I'm just going to remove this because it's not actually formed yet. We have to wait for December to close. But on the weekly, we do have some inefficient areas as well. We have one here and also one here. The fact that the current week didn't actually reach down here, again, gives me confidence that price doesn't want to use that potential monthly low as a means of going higher. So take a look at this candle here and take a look at that wick. At one point, we were actually hovering around 94,700. We could have very well just dropped right down into this weekly imbalance, but we didn't. Instead, once we hit about the midpoint of this wick here, you can see that right there, I just drew out the midpoint of the previous week's wick. Once we just reach right down into that, we got bought right back up, and we are now above the opening price. This lets me know that price is unlikely going to go down into this weekly area of inefficiency. Instead, it'll remain open, and this too can be confluence that we want to go higher. My main focus right now is how we actually attack previous week's high. As you can see right now, price is sitting just right under previous week's high, and because we're so close to it, it's surely likely we'll go above it, but I want to see how we go above it. Do we go through with strength, or do we struggle and then come back below? That's what I'm looking for. All right, dropping down to the daily. On the daily, you can see we also had this area here. I talked about this in a previous video, how we had this formation of a daily fair value gap. Next candle reaches down into that, closes outside of the gap, bullish, and then goes after the swing high right here that actually pushed us into that gap. And now here we are on the daily, sitting just below previous week's high. So again, I'm watching this level, but the most important thing that I'm concerned with is the monthly chart. How is December going to close in relation to this being a bullish imbalance here? I'm gonna have to wait these 16 days and 3 hours to find out, but as more price develops, I'll do another video. So that is my analysis for Bitcoin. Nothing else is really sticking out to me. I mean, nothing on this chart right now says bearish, okay? The 6 month, it's bullish. The 3 month, we just had internal to external follow through, and look at how high we are from the open of this candle. Extremely bullish. The 1 month, bullish with the likely formation of a new bullish imbalance. It's just bullish right now. Weekly, failure to need to enter into this weekly area, instead maintaining above the midpoint of the previous candle's wick, bullish, sitting just underneath previous week's high, above the opening price of this week. Again, another bullish indication. On the daily, another successful internal to external setup. Everything says higher prices. Now, I want to give myself some investment advice. Again, I'm not a financial advisor, so as a viewer of this video, you are just merely hearing my own thoughts to myself. Here's the deal, Sam, you need to get 0.1 Bitcoin, because I believe, based off of what I'm going to show you guys in just a moment, I believe the next target for Bitcoin is 1 million. Now just stick around and I will prove to you why. But right now, if you are able to purchase 10% of the current price at $1 million, that is an easy $100,000 in your pocket. Okay, so let me just bring this up. At the time of this video, the price is $103,063. Yeah, and I can't increase the size of my calculator. Okay, multiply that by 10%. Right now, it costs $10,306 to get 0.1 Bitcoin. Okay, and just so you guys can see, 1 million times 0.1, the 0.1 Bitcoin that you purchased today. If you wanted to sell that at 1 million, there's your 100K, okay? As most of you know, we now have a pro-crypto administration, pro-crypto legislation, pro-crypto cabinet, pro-crypto president, but a lot of other things are happening under the hood that are sounding for a $1 million Bitcoin. President Trump is a pro-crypto president, but that does not mean he is a pro-person president. No president is pro-person. Presidents are pro-policy. And so to understand why Bitcoin is likely going to hit $1 million per coin, we need to dig a little deeper. It's not just going to be the people that get it there anymore. Too many big players are in the game now. But we can use that to our advantage by understanding why players like BlackRock and countries like the United States, China, El Salvador, why are they actually wanting to get in now? Because Bitcoin's code has not changed. Back when Larry Fink, CEO of BlackRock, didn't want anything to do with it, nothing changed until he started to research and understand it. Bitcoin's code, the consensus protocol, never changed. He changed, but we need to understand why he changed and why we have a pro-crypto administration. So to do this, I had to go online. I had to do some research on countries and their influence and power amongst other countries with lesser influence and power. And this all starts with not just the people in control, but the reserves. Reserves are so important to a country's economic health. And I had no idea just how important it was. With the right amount of reserves in a country's possession, you can actually front the economy's health. Okay, so let me show you this. Let's run over here to some things I have over here. All right, so I did a search asking Google, why do countries actually hold gold? And check this out. Here's a couple reasons. Gold is a reliable store of value that can help stabilize a country's currency and economy. All right, another one is portfolio diversification. Gold can help diversify a country's investment portfolio, which can help mitigate risk, safeguard against inflation. That's like the most common one. Gold can help protect against currency fluctuations and foreign exchange valuations. Historical significance about how gold was used to back paper money during the 18 and 1900s. All right, so gold being held by a country in a reserve seems to be a fancy way of saying I'm a hoarder. All right, I'm gonna hoard this gold, and I'm a proud hoarder because I'm going to hold it indefinitely. But that's not the only thing that countries hold. So I looked up, why do countries have oil reserves? And here's the reason. Countries hold oil primarily in the form of strategic petroleum reserves to safeguard their economies and national security by having an emergency supply of crude oil readily available to offset disruptions in the global oil market. So right there, they have it to safeguard their economies, and they have it readily available to offset disruptions in the global oil market. So it's like, it's a safety net. They're not actively using these reserves. It's like a go bag on steroids, right? Like, you know, like in the John Wick movies when John has to take the hammer and hit the floor with the concrete and then take out his suitcase of money and guns when he's like, oh man, you know, this is gonna be one of those moments where I gotta use it. That's what these reserves are, guys. So I dug a little deep and I'm like, okay, well, what else do these countries actually hold? And it turns out they hold a lot more than gold and oil. SPR is the most common, right? That is the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. But check this out, they also hold uranium, they hold helium, grain, amongst a few other things. So these are the things that countries see as most valuable for their economic health, but also their influence on other countries, which is really important to understand, okay? So why is all this important? And how does this relate to Bitcoin? Well, if we take a look at BlackRock, the biggest financial institution in the world with more power, only second to God, BlackRock has 11.5 trillion assets under management. So this comes from many different things like stocks, now Bitcoin, gold, you name it, or land, property, they have it, okay? They have $11.5 trillion under management, which is insane. It's actually double what they had in 2016. I want you to take a listen to their CEO about what he had to say about Bitcoin 6 years ago.
Is it true that you're building out a cryptocurrency capability?
No. I mean, we're looking at it. As I said in the past, we are very excited about blockchain technology. That's what we're looking at, even in the Aladdin universe, what we're trying to do there. So we're looking at blockchain technologies, and we're looking at all the
blockchain isn't crypto. Blockchain is just the underlying technology.
Well, that's the most important thing. Whether it is a cryptocurrency, we're studying them to see how they're performing.
What he said right there was so key. You see, I don't really care for Larry Fink, but I do appreciate how professional he is as an investor. A professional investor isn't going to say, yeah, we're buying it, we're aping into it, you know what I mean? Like along the professional lines of, we got it, we want it. He was actually honest here in saying, we're studying it. We don't quite know what it is yet. You know, he's not an old guy, but He comes from a world of legacy assets, like legacy markets. For him to say we're studying it, I can appreciate that. Because the moment you do understand Bitcoin's technology, you realize it's much more than just digital money that you can send to people back and forth. It's so much more than that. He's not actually studying the asset itself. And I had to watch this video a couple times to really understand what's going through this guy's head when I look at what BlackRock is doing today compared to what Larry Fink was going through during this interview in 2018. Larry Fink, to me, he's actually studying the people who want Bitcoin. He's watching how they perform in wanting exposure to Bitcoin through BlackRock. At the end of the day, BlackRock is a financial institution for profit. They are not here to necessarily help the average person create wealth. So when I think about what Larry Fink is saying, he's saying we're studying the performance not just of the asset, but we want to understand just how many people are actually coming into the space. I think he was wondering here in this interview if this is a niche crowd that just are some tech nerds that kind of think it's cool, and if they would just be passing through. I don't think Larry Fink realized that this generation has now gotten smarter and understands the debasement of our fiat currency and how people are actually choosing now to not want to hold their money in cash and to not want to hold their money, their wealth in silver and gold. Because I'm going to dive into supply and demand and talk about what's really going on in the gold market, in the silver and oil. And I want to compare that to Bitcoin and give you just something to think about. But listen to what he says here in the rest of this video.
And it may be, it may be.
Don't your clients want crypto exposure?
No, I don't believe any client has sought out crypto exposure.
Really?
Yes.
But at some point they might. Do you need to be prepared?
I don't, at the moment, no.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, Goldman Sachs is building out a cryptocurrency trading desk. Morgan Stanley is doing the same thing.
Well, I'm not in the trading area.
Morgan's doing the same thing.
Yes, because there's elements of people who are looking to trade it. I have not heard from any one client they're looking to buy a cryptocurrency at this time.
You see, he said something very, very interesting. There are elements. When the interviewer brought up other banks who are starting their own thing with crypto, he goes, well, yeah, Morgan Stanley, there are elements of people who want to trade it, which lets me know Larry Fink is looking out for a certain type of market of people who want this asset, right? Because in Bitcoin, he's right, you have different elements of uses for what these people want to do with Bitcoin. You have people who just merely want to degen, all right, risk the house and lose everything through leverage, right? Every week we get a new tweet about $1 billion being liquidated in the market, okay? But then you also have people who want to gain off of the appreciation of the asset. And then you have this other group of people who are waking up to understanding that Bitcoin is way more than something on the stock market that you trade. It is financial sovereignty. It's a way of life. I need this in order to protect myself through the future debasement and destruction of my own country's money. You see, Larry Fink understands that Bitcoin, he understands now. I'm going to show you a video of that in a second. Larry Fink now understands that what Satoshi Nakamoto did when he created Bitcoin, he offered people financial sovereignty. Larry Fink does not, in my opinion, he doesn't like the idea that exchanges like Coinbase, Binance, Mexi, KuCoin, any exchange on earth can offer you financial sovereignty at these prices. To me, this is why BlackRock has now gotten into the business of offering crypto in forms of ETFs. And I'm going to dive a little deeper as to why I feel this way with their recommended allocation. Mind you, this company that this guy runs has over 11 trillion assets under management. There is no incentive for Larry Fink to start offering Bitcoin unless there's an incentive. Does that make sense? They have everything in the world. Everything of value, they have it. Why would they just suddenly start offering Bitcoin to their clients? These financial institutions and companies, they don't value Bitcoin because it's valuable. They value Bitcoin because we value it. The people value it. Because Bitcoin does the opposite of what banking does for us. Satoshi Nakamoto's dream was for us to move away from fiat, to move away from the dilution of wealth and money, and to actually take power into our own finances and not have our purchasing power destroyed year after year after year. Banks are the ones who created the fiat money system. So why would that be helpful for them? It's not. Bitcoin gives you control. It gives you, the individual, control. It does not allow the bank to control you. Bitcoin is permissionless and trustless. No one man owns it. You understand? When I say owns it, I'm not talking about custody. I'm talking about there is no central point of failure, right? Like if you have a bank account at Chase and let's just say, God forbid, Chase shut its doors, that's a central point of failure. Your funds are gone. Chase, JP Morgan is shut down. That's not how Bitcoin works. It can be Saturday, 3 a.m. Eastern Standard when all banks in America are closed, and I can send a Bitcoin transaction to anyone in the world that I want to without anyone's permission. Financial sovereignty. So Larry Fink, and I don't know how honest he was about saying, oh, no one's reached out to me. Like, come on now. I think that people have been talking about it, but Larry just wasn't educated enough to bring it as a product. Now things have changed, obviously, but I'm really speculating at what changed within Larry. And I think it was what he read in the white paper. I think he understands now the supply and demand aspect and how it relates to things like gold, silver, and this Petroleum Reserve that I'm going to get into in a second. But I want to play this updated video of what Larry had to say about Bitcoin and crypto as a whole.
You admit my thinking. It was like, so that people can be in Bitcoin. We hear that you are thinking about Ethereum. These are incredible things. Now, BlackRock is not known as a gunslinger by any means. So you obviously must believe that this may be as an alternative. Is this an alternative in order to be able, because of a deficit, maybe something long-term people should have?
Absolutely. As you know, I was a skeptic.
Yes.
I was a proud skeptic. And I studied it, learned about it, and I came away saying, okay, my opinion 5 years ago was wrong. Here's my opinion today. This is what I believe in today. I believe the opportunity today. I believe Bitcoin is legitimate. I'm not trying to say there's not misuses like everything else, but it is a legitimate financial instrument that allows you to have maybe uncorrelated, non-correlated type of returns. I believe it is an instrument that you invest in when you're more frightened, though. Right. It is an instrument when you believe that countries are debasing their currency, debasing their currency by excess deficits.
So now his tune is changing. You hear what he's saying. Listen, just hearing him talk, it shows me that he's read some stuff, right? I believe it's something that you invest in when you're more frightened. To me, that's like, okay, what do you mean by I invest in it when I'm more frightened? What am I frightened of? And then he leads right into, I believe it's something you invest in when you want to watch out for your country's debasement of their currency. Okay, so he understands the underlying technology. He understands the importance of the purchasing power that Bitcoin has brought thus far. It's not just people pushing the price up. It's the fact that more people are getting involved and understanding that we can't make more of this stuff. Listen to what he says next.
And some countries are. I believe we have countries where you're frightened of your everyday existence, and if you have an opportunity to invest in something that is outside your country's control, then you can have more financial control. And so I'm a major believer that there is a role for Bitcoin in portfolios.
So he's literally walking a tightrope, all right? This guy is very important. He has such an influence. This guy could single-handedly send Bitcoin to $1 million because of his influence and what he has under management. But you can tell, he's been doing research. And you can see the way he's talking like, it's safety from your very existence. Okay, what are you talking about? So you're talking about this is something that can protect me from robbery. It can protect me from not speculation, but investigation. It can protect me from being scrutinized, right? Because nobody knows what I have when I have Bitcoin. Many times when I've left the country, I hear it all the time. Do you have an excess of $5,000 or $10,000 you're taking with you, and this and that? How much money do you have with you, and this and this and that? These people, I get asked more about my money than I do if I'm carrying drugs when I leave the country. It's crazy. At all immigration, really just the West. I'm not gonna tell that lie. I didn't really have that issue when I went into Southeast Asia, but definitely in the West, they want to know what's in your pockets. And that's one of the most beautiful things about sovereign money is that I can take $1 billion with me in my head, not even on a flash drive. If I memorize my 12 or 24 seed phrase, I can take any amount of money with me anywhere on earth. And the only way that's getting out is if I'm dumb enough to put a Neuralink in my head and let Elon take my seed phrase, which is not gonna happen. He understands this. And so now he's speaking to a niche crowd. He's no longer speaking about, he didn't say, I think it has great volatility for traders to take advantage of. I think I see exponential growth so that traders can get gains. No. He's speaking to a crowd that's growing and getting smarter about protecting their wealth. And so him saying, I believe it's legitimate, lets you know Larry Fink wants to make money on people who see Bitcoin as the only real money, as I do. I think Bitcoin is real money. And you can see he's got his other talking head with him, Jim Cramer, all right? Who you love to hate. But listen to what Jim Cramer says in this same clip.
I believe you're going to see that as one of the asset classes that we all look at. I look at it as digital gold, as I said before, and I do believe there's a real need for everyone to look at it as one alternative to, I would say, the optimism that I have in the world. If you want to hedge hope, Bitcoin is not an instrument for hope unless you're hopeful you're going to make a lot of money on it. But I look at it as a vehicle in which you're expressing your financial acumen in something that you're more frightened of the world, you're more frightened of your existence. And I believe there's a great industrial use for it. And I think a lot of people are missing that.
I want you to remember him saying he thinks that it's digital gold. Larry Fink of BlackRock says Bitcoin is digital gold. That's really important to remember because up until 2009, all of these boomers, no offense, but when I say boomer, I'm talking about the generation. All of these boomers have had gold, silver, uranium, platinum, grain, meat, okay? That's been their investment. Stocks, all right? These things have been the cycle of investments and hedges against inflation for many, many, many years. They have never experienced Bitcoin, okay? So just keep that in mind when he said this is digital gold, all right? And here's Jim Cramer's input.
I couldn't agree more. I changed my mind about it when you did. You admitted my thinking. It was like, you don't believe in it, so I can't believe it. I want to thank
for it. And I think a lot of people are missing that.
I couldn't agree more. I changed my mind about it when you did.
So right there, right? Jim Cramer has his own massive crowd of sheep that he just bosses around. But as you can see, he has no direction. He literally said it. Oh, I couldn't agree more. I changed my mind when you did. Like, this dude can't even think for himself in terms of what a good investment, let alone what sovereign real money is, until Larry Fink says it. And this is the problem that a lot of people have, and this is what I see. Larry Fink has done nothing but do research. That's what I find so funny. As powerful as this man is, he just says, yeah, I think it's legit. And then next thing you know, Jim Cramer on national television, oh, I believe you. I'm with you. I changed my mind when you did. And all he did was do research, because nothing about Bitcoin has changed between this interview from 5 months ago and the one he did on the news from 2018. Nothing in the consensus protocol changed. So let's go back to our favorite talking head and let's hear what Jim Cramer had to say when he was asked about crypto.
One of the reasons why I'm upset, and I think the SEC should be a little more over these things, is when we look at a filing of a stock, we know who owns it. We don't know what this guy owns. I do know that, again, the faith of the American people shocked. Just shocked. I mean, I still think that, crypto, I sold all my crypto. I announced everything on TV, what I did with crypto. But I would not touch crypto in a million years because I wouldn't trust the deposit bank.
And you're making no distinction between centralized, decentralized.
They fought regulation. They didn't want regulation. and you don't have regulation. So if you have your money in any of those, look, I'm not calling you an idiot. I'm just saying you're using a lot of blind faith. And I like to have my money at JP Morgan, and I check on Monday to see whether my balance is there. It's there. It feels good. Try getting your money out. When I had money, I'm not going to mention the firm that I had my money in, but it was a fight to get the money out.
Now, that's a very important quote from Jim Cramer, because remember, again, Jim Cramer is speaking to a lot of boomers, a lot of like midlife individuals who are following him for investment advice and things of that nature. And his argument for not wanting to touch crypto in a million years is the fact that he couldn't get his money out of a firm that was holding his Bitcoin. All right. That goes completely against Satoshi Nakamoto's dream for Bitcoin as a whole. Bitcoin is completely different than an exchange. And one thing that the crypto community teaches is not your keys, not your coins. So this guy had his Bitcoin on an exchange, something like Coinbase, Crypto.com, could have been Binance. He said he wouldn't name the firm, but Bitcoin has no firm. Bitcoin has no CEO. Bitcoin has no customer service. It's permissionless and trustless, run by a consensus protocol. So there's the discrepancy. He's mixing Bitcoin's actual technology with a firm that can control whether you can see your funds, have your funds, withdraw, or deposit your funds. It's not the same. So Jim Cramer's real issue is with a company, not Bitcoin. But to the neophyte, now Bitcoin looks bad because of this guy's speech about it, right? Here, let me let you hear that again.
An idiot. I'm just saying you're using a lot of blind faith. And I like to have my money at JP Morgan, and I check on Monday to see whether my balance is there. It's there. It feels good.
So right there, he's using a big corporation as his feel good. Oh, I get to log in to JP Morgan, look at my balance, it's there, it feels good. If your Bitcoin is in a wallet of which you have custody of, all right, such as, let's say, Trust Wallet, the app is a very good wallet to have on your phone. I've never had issues with Atomic Wallet. This is another wallet that gives you 12 or 24 word seed phrase, but I personally use Ledger, their hardware wallet, and I keep my crypto behind a wall of security of a set amount of words that only I know. And every time I log in, I see my balance and it's there and it feels good, but it's not inside of a bank. What he's reading is digits from his bank. The moment you put your money into a bank, it's not even yours anymore. That money's being loaned out. So you officially join the proverbial game of musical chairs every time a deposit goes into a bank. Whereas with Bitcoin or crypto in general, what's in your wallet is yours. Try to do a bank run on my wallet. You're not gonna get nothing out because I control it. That's the difference.
Try getting your money out. When I had money, I'm not going to mention the firm that I had my money in, but it was a fight to get the money out. A fight. And I think that everybody who owns these various coins, Solana, Litecoin, I do think you're an idiot. Okay? I did not go to college to get stupid. These people who own these things should not own them. They shouldn't own them.
Well, and now we got Gensler talking to the Times, arguing that the existing laws may be sufficient, even though a lot of these guys...
I sent it, why don't you come on and enforce them? I think they need to do a big sweep. They have to stop having people creating money, Carl. It's the creation of money by cretins.
Okay, and that's what I find very interesting, right? The hypocrisy. I've never... Hearing Jim Cramer's response right there about, oh, the SEC has got to stop the creation of money. It's the creation of money by credence. Why have you not taken that same argument to your Federal Reserve, who prints money, US dollars, in the trillions and dilutes your purchasing power? The very money you use to buy food to put on your family's table? Why haven't you told them that? Why haven't you called Jerome Powell and said, hey man, it's the creation of money by credence? Like, what? It was never Satoshi Nakamoto's dream to have Bitcoin and hundreds of thousands of other currencies. People created those currencies on their own. The difference is Bitcoin has been rocking since 2009. All these people who are creating these coins, a lot of them, 99% of them, what do? They just dump on their supporters. They just take the money and run. We have proof. You can actually Google Satoshi Nakamoto's wallets from when he used to mine Bitcoin. None of his wallets are showing any outgoing transactions. We don't even know if Satoshi Nakamoto is dead. And he has over 2% of the entire supply stored, doing nothing. If that's not a good actor, I don't know what is. He's watched, well, I don't know if he's, like I say, we don't know if he's alive, but we've witnessed Bitcoin go from $1, even less, but $1 all the way to 103,000 and some change right now. And not a single Bitcoin has left any of his wallets. Like, what is going on? It's gotten to the point where if you look at the transactions on chain, people are sending him Bitcoin as appreciation and like reverence for what he has created for us. And this guy ain't cashed out a dime. Like, where is this man? So this argument that he's making, it's completely, it's egregious to say the least. It's silly to hear Jim Cramer. But here's Jim Cramer. This was a year ago, but I want to show you what he says now.
September 15, 2020. Not bury it. First, let's dispel the idea that I've never believed in Bitcoin. Now, if you search YouTube, you can see that I first bought Bitcoin on September 15, 2020, when it was at just over $10,000. So no, top caller me? No, not here. Oh, and for the record, back in April 2021, I decided to participate in an auction to buy the NFT for the iconic Is God Dead Time magazine cover from April 8th of 1996, even though I had no idea what a fungible token was, let alone a non-fungible one. The transaction had to be done in Ethereum, so I dutifully bought an undisclosed amount of Ethereum to try to win. I lost the auction, but I forgot to sell the Ethereum. And when I discovered the error, it had appreciated so mightily that I was able to cash out and buy a large farm in an undisclosed location. So you may think I'm calling the top by celebrating Bitcoin at $100,000. I say, au contraire, mon frère. I've been recommending it for years, just like I've been bragging about getting lucky in Ethereum. I do think you're an idiot, okay? I did not go to college to get stupid. These people who own these things should not own them.
Okay. Hey, yo, check this out. Bitcoin hasn't changed. Same thing with Larry Fink. Nothing in the consensus protocol has changed. People change. And because people have influence, they can control whether you buy in or not. If you are not educated, this is who you're listening to. He called you an idiot for wanting to get into Bitcoin. Yet this is the same guy who claims he was buying Bitcoin in 2020 when it was $10,000, and he was using the Ethereum network and buying NFTs and au contraire. Like, you can even tell the way he was talking in this video. Why is he talking so much faster? And he almost sounds like Biden. For a moment, like, listen to this. He kind of just sounds like he just wants to get it over with. Listen.
Sell the Ethereum. And when I God Dead Time magazine cover from April 8th of 1996, even though I had no idea what a fungible token was, let alone a non-fungible one. The transaction had to be done in Ethereum, so I dutifully bought an undisclosed amount of Ethereum to try to win. I lost the auction, but I forgot to sell the Ethereum. And when I discovered the error, it had appreciated so mightily that I was able to cash out and buy a large.
Yeah, when I discovered the error. Like, what? Why are you talking so fast now? What about when you called us an idiot for wanting to have financial sovereignty? And then listen to the script, right? He's explaining his experience with buying and selling for profit. Short-term trades, turnaround trades. He's not even willing to admit that this protocol is about real wealth creation, real safety from inflation, the inability to ever create more of this asset. Instead, he's just keeping it short-term. Just giving the degens what they want. Yeah, I was able to make a profit and do all this stuff. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So again, someone who had no education, I don't even think he still has education on just how special Bitcoin is, but you can see he changed his tune when Bitcoin is still the same. Last but not least, I want you guys to hear what Charlie Munger had to say. This is the vice chairman of Berkshire Hathaway. Listen to what he said.
About crypto that Benjamin writes in. He says in 2007 at the USC Law School, Charlie said, "I'm not entitled to have an opinion on this subject unless I can state the arguments against my position better than the people who are supporting it." The question is, does this also apply to your Wall Street Journal article on banning cryptocurrencies? And if yes, would you care to share the arguments against your position?
Well, I don't think there are good arguments against my position. I think the people that oppose my position are idiots. And so I don't think there is a rational argument against my position. This is an incredible thing. Naturally, people like to run gambling casinos where other people lose. And the people who invented this crypto crapo, which is my name for it, and sometimes I call it crypto crapo, and sometimes I call it, well, crypto shit. And it's just ridiculous that anybody would buy this stuff. And it isn't. You can think of hardly nothing on earth that has done more good to the human race than currency, national currencies. They were absolutely required to turn man from a goddamn successful ape into modern successful humans in human civilization. Because it enabled all these convenient exchanges. So if somebody says, I'm going to create something that sort of replaces the national currency.
Okay, Charlie said a lot there, but first of all, he said, oh, I call it crypto crapo or crypto, S, right? And then he goes on to say the creation, that's a key word, the creation of currency, he's talking about fiat, was what turned the average man of an ape to a successful businessman. All right. So he believes that the creation of fiat is what revolutionized people because of convenient exchange. That's what he said, convenient exchange. Do you not realize how convenient of an exchange Bitcoin is? It's convenient international exchange. But I'm going to play that part again and then listen to what he says after.
Currencies. They were absolutely required to turn man from a goddamn successful ape into modern successful humans in human civilization. Because it enabled all these convenient exchanges. So if somebody says, I'm going to create something that sort of replaces the national currency, it's like saying I'm going to replace the national air. It's.
Do you see how sick in the head that is? So he relates the national currency to air. His words verbatim, national air. I don't know what national air is, but I'm going to go out on a thin limb and say he's relating the US dollar to oxygen in a way of, that's how much it's needed. Last time I checked, without any type of intervention, the human body inhales oxygen, exhales carbon dioxide. There is nothing else unless intervention, right? You can inhale helium if you want, if you're into that. But that's what the human body needs. We don't need fiat. Fiat was created for control and then printed boundless times over eons of years. All of them go to zero. And this guy thinks that it's just as important as air. Okay, I'm just going to play the rest.
Asinine. It isn't even slightly stupid. It's massively stupid. And of course, it's very dangerous. And of course, the governments were totally wrong to permit it. And of course, I'm not proud of my country for allowing this crap, what I call the crypto it's worthless, it's no good, it's crazy. It'll do nothing but harm. It's antisocial to allow it. And the guy who made the correct decision on this is the Chinese leader. The Chinese leader took one look at crypto and he says, not in my China. And boom, there isn't any crypto in China.
Again, okay, so more misinformation. So he claims that the Chinese leader, I don't know if he's talking about Xi, but he claims that a Chinese leader said no more crypto in China, and then boom, Bitcoin was banned. And that's not true. No one man controls Bitcoin. All right. Now, what you can do, a country can ban the on-ramp right? And we saw that in the United States. We lost a lot of good exchanges when the SEC cracked down and said, all right, pack your bags. You're not going to do that here anymore. We lost Binance. We lost KuCoin. We lost MEXC. A lot of good exchanges that did, in my opinion, good business, especially in relation to Coinbase. All right. So a country can control how you use your debit card and bank account to buy Bitcoin. But no country can actually stop you from getting Bitcoin peer to peer. And I do this all the time. I have purchased Bitcoin peer to peer on something like localbitcoins.com. They have a fantastic escrow service. I make a deposit, a cash deposit into a bank account, and the person I'm doing business with, once that deposit is verified, I get the amount of Bitcoin of which I wanted to purchase. Never had an issue. But when it comes to using an exchange, like what Jim Cramer said in the last video, he said it. Oh, try to get your funds out of one of these things. I couldn't even. Yeah, that's how exchanges do, especially if you're Coinbase. But no, this is misinformation. You cannot ban something that you don't own. These countries own the states, they own the exchanges, but they don't own Bitcoin. All right. So how do I sum all of this up as to why Bitcoin is going to $1 million? Well, I want to give you some food for thought because, as you guys know, Donald Trump wants to do this strategic Bitcoin reserve. So let me play that clip.
This afternoon, I'm laying out my plan to ensure that the United States will be the crypto capital of the planet and the Bitcoin superpower of the world, and we'll get it done. If crypto is going to define the future, I want to be mined, minted, and made in the USA. It's going to be. It's not going to be made anywhere else. And if Bitcoin is going to the moon, as we say, it's going to the moon, I want America to be the nation that leads the way. And that's what's going to happen. I pledge to the Bitcoin community that the day I take the oath of office, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's anti-crypto crusade will be over. It will end. It'll be done. It'll be done. On day one, I will fire Gary Gensler and appoint a new SEC chairman.
All right, so that clip always makes me smile because you can tell everybody at the Bitcoin conference, you can see how quiet they got when he said he wants Bitcoin to be mined, minted, and made in the USA. That was a little bit of his boomer side coming out, right? Because you don't mint Bitcoin and you don't make Bitcoin. So he's still learning, all right? Trump, you got to pass from us because you're pro-crypto, all right? You still got a lot to prove, but as of right now, we working with you, okay? We understand what you mean. You want it to just be, you want the U.S. to front run crypto adoption, which is fine, all right? But to clarify, you're not gonna, you can mine it, yes, but we're almost done with that. Right, like I, according to some reports, I think it's like we won't be able to actually mine the last Bitcoin, which is number 21 million, for another 100 years. Okay, so as far as minting and making, that's not possible. All right, here's the last clip.
Meantime, how about a crypto? Really, we do need, I think, to some.
And there's our favorite talking head there. Jim Cramer. Oh yeah, Larry Fink. I changed my mind once again, someone with no direction. He just listens to whoever's got the bigger dollar bill in their pocket. All right, but he's asking Trump, give us some updates on what you want to do on the crypto front, and here's what Trump had to say.
Your embracing of crypto, very different from the previous administration. Strategic Petroleum Reserve like for crypto?
Yeah, I think so. We're going to do something great with crypto because we don't want China or anybody else, and not just China, but others are embracing it, and we want to be the head. We're going to be ahead of AI. We're going to be way ahead of AI, and we've got to produce tremendous amounts of electricity. You know that. It's unbelievable when you think that we need more than twice what we already have. If you think that's pretty for a specific industry, but we'll be able to do it. We have Lee Zeldin in charge of the environment. He's going to be giving us very strong approvals, I think, and he's going to make sure everything's good and clean and proper, but he's going to give us very fast approval.
Now, what's important about this clip is, did you hear what Jim Cramer said at the very end before he let Trump respond. Take a listen and read the subtitle at the very last part, and I'll make sure to pause it. Take a listen.
Very different from the previous administration. Strategic Petroleum Reserve like.
So he's asking, are we going to get a reserve that's a strategic petroleum reserve like for Bitcoin? That right there is the nail on the head. And Trump says,
For crypto?
Yeah, I think so. We're going to do something great with crypto because we don't want China or anybody.
So Trump says, yeah, I think so. Okay, well, what are they talking about? Here's an infographic, because remember, I went over how countries keep their economic and power and influence over other countries, and a lot has to do with their reserves, all right? Take a look at the United States infographic for their Strategic Petroleum Reserve. I'm just going to scroll down here to the meat and potatoes. Take a look at this. With a storage capacity of up to 713.5 million barrels as of August 2024, the SPR currently holds approximately 372 million barrels of crude oil. That amount of crude oil refined into motor gasoline could fill about 580 million sedans. So every little blue car you see right here is equal to 10 million sedans. So let me just clarify. They have a warehouse that can hold 713 million barrels. And right now, that warehouse is stocked about halfway, 372 million barrels right now. Okay, as of August. And Jim Cramer asks, are we gonna get maybe a petroleum reserve type reserve for Bitcoin? And you have Trump saying, yeah, I think so. So remember, what does strategic reserve mean? It's a fancy way of saying for a country, I am a hoarder and I'm a proud hoarder and I'm gonna hold it indefinitely. So not hold it forever, but I'm going to hold it until some type of real disruption happens where I need to inject liquidity into my economy. Other than that, liquidity or gasoline, such as some type of shortage, into the economy. What I'm saying is this strategic Bitcoin reserve will remove a large amount of Bitcoin from those exchanges that you currently use to get crypto. The well is running dry, guys. This is real life. This is one of the many reasons why I believe Bitcoin will hit $1 million per coin. I want to show you the actual bill right here. So this is from Cynthia Loomis' website, the senator of Wyoming. And this is the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve legislation. I just want to read some highlights here. The Bitcoin Act establishes a strategic Bitcoin reserve to serve as an additional store of value to bolster America's balance sheet and ensure the transparent management of Bitcoin holdings of the federal government. Especially, the legislation would establish a decentralized network of secure Bitcoin vaults operated by the United States Department of Treasury with statutory requirements ensuring the highest level of physical and cybersecurity for the nation's Bitcoin holdings. So to me, all that's what I see from that is I can only imagine like Trump having 10 guards open a 50-foot door, and then they're like pulling this door open and you see all of the world's gold just sitting in there, and he just like throws 5 USB sticks with the reserves on it and have them close the door like, all right, that's it, you know. Okay, now this is interesting. This is really interesting. Check this out. They want to implement a 1 million unit Bitcoin purchase program over a set period of time to acquire a total stake of approximately 5% of the total Bitcoin supply, mirroring the size and scope of gold reserves held by the United States. So this whole bill is about the United States buying and hoarding 1 million Bitcoin. And they say it right here, not Satoshis, 1 million unit Bitcoin. Here's the best part. Be paid for by diversifying existing funds within the Federal Reserve System and Treasury Department. What? So they don't even want to use taxpayer dollars to do this. Mind you, ever since the Biden administration has been a thing, they've been using taxpayer dollars to send billions of money to Ukraine for this war. Trump comes in and says, let's do this strategic Bitcoin reserve and let's pay for it. Well, in this bill, right? Let's pay for it by diversifying existing funds within the Federal Reserve. Well, what are those existing funds, you might be wondering? Hello. Boom. The gold reserves. Boom. Petroleum. Oil reserves. You remember that 372 million barrels that they have? I believe they're going to start liquidating some of this oil in order to purchase Bitcoin. Affirm self-custody rights of private Bitcoin holders. Ooh, that's important. Affirm self-custody rights of private Bitcoin holders and emphasize that the strategic Bitcoin reserve shall not infringe upon individual financial freedoms. What are they saying right here? Affirm self-custody rights. Get your money off of Coinbase. It's time to get your money off of Uphold. The only time you should be keeping your money on an exchange is if you are preparing to sell and you need to get into the order book. But if you are holding like they are holding, the United States is even agreeing we're not going to hold our reserve on Coinbase. We're not going to hold our reserve on crypto.com. We're going to affirm self-custody rights of private Bitcoin holders. Implement, let's check back here, ensuring the highest level of physical and cybersecurity for the nation's Bitcoin holdings. They're going to go cold storage. If this bill goes through and Trump keeps his promise, you're going to see the United States go cold storage, which is the best way to hold cryptocurrency. Affirm self-custody. Guys, come on. The writing's on the wall. The United States is actually thinking about converting existing funds into Bitcoin. And they want to do a 1 million Bitcoin purchase. So right now, I believe BlackRock holds over 2% of the entire supply of Bitcoin. I think it's like over 22,000 Bitcoins in their ETF. And the United States wants to get 1 million. Michael Saylor, I believe they have over 22,000. I think it might be 15. I'm not quite sure. I can check really quick. MicroStrategy holds roughly 423,650 Bitcoins. Okay, so that's a far cry from the 15 to 20,000 I thought they had. Purchased at an average price of 60,324 per coin. Okay, so MicroStrategy holds 423,000 Bitcoins. The U.S. government, if this bill goes through, wants to purchase 1 million. And let's see how much BlackRock has. ETFs and other funds own a combined 1.2 million Bitcoin. All right. BlackRock's iShares Bitcoin Trust has approximately 530,000 Bitcoin under management. Again, far cry from 22. All right. I'm way behind the times. These guys are going absolutely wicked with their purchases. And why do you think that is? They want to buy it all up and make you pay for financial sovereignty at an astronomical price. This is why I say right now is the time to get 0.1 Bitcoin, because these institutions, they don't like these exchanges offering such an asset at these prices. 103,000? That's too cheap. That's too cheap. They're creating reserves to hoard it. This Bitcoin the Bitcoin that these ETFs own and have, they may never let it go, guys. Check out El Salvador. El Salvador's Bitcoin reserve surpasses 500 million amid price surge. So El Salvador, a country that already offers Bitcoin as legal tender, they already have a strategic reserve. And right now they hold, according to their website, they hold 5,930 Bitcoin as of November 12th, right? I'm pretty sure it's a little more. But at the time of this article, they had just under 6,000 Bitcoin, valued at 501 million during November. Okay, obviously this is a lot more, but I'm just giving you an example of what's happening in the world. these countries, these institutions, MicroStrategy, and a lot of other funds that you ain't even heard of are removing supply from existence. And if more countries create reserves, do you understand? A reserve is strictly for an emergency. They're not looking to do like Jim Cramer and sell it for an NFT. They're looking to hold this stuff long term. All right. So that is why I believe everyone should get 0.1 Bitcoin, so that when it does hit $1 million, you did something right, guys. All right. Here's some food for thought. Imagine an angel came to you in 2014 and said, hey, there's this new technology called blockchain, and built on top of the blockchain is this coin called Bitcoin. In 10 years, it's going to be worth $100,000 a coin. You should look into it and buy it. And then it just disappeared, right? I want to ask you something. Would you buy? And if so, right, like if you knew it was a legit angel who told you this, how much would you buy before that 10-year period passed? Here's something I really want to show you. This is what BlackRock recently said. So this is Yahoo Finance. BlackRock recommends investing no more than 2% of your portfolio in Bitcoin. Yo, I gotta put this on. Hold on. All right, so I'm gonna read you a little bit of this article, and I want you to just keep in mind on what's on the right side of the screen, okay? So, as new investors rush to buy Bitcoin, many wonder how much of their investment portfolio to plow into the digital currency. BlackRock, the world's largest asset manager, has the answer. No more than 2%. Okay? All right. Now, even though they own over 500,000 Bitcoin, they want you to own no more than 2% of your portfolio. So, for example, if I had $10,000 and I followed their advice, they'd only want me to buy $200 worth of Bitcoin. That's no more than 2%. Okay. Now let me ask you, it's egregious. It's egregious to say the least. Okay, let me ask you this. If you were in handcuffs and you had the key and you wanted to be free from those handcuffs, would you open the cuff 2% of the way? This is just ridiculous. This is just disgusting. This is why I say they want the Bitcoin, because they understand what Bitcoin means. It's not even about Ethereum. It's not about XRP. It's not about HBAR. It's not about Bitcoin Cash. It's about Bitcoin itself. It's Bitcoin. It's just, words can't explain how ridiculous this advice is when you're doing what's on the right. So if I got $1,000, oh, you only want me to get $20 worth of Bitcoin? I ain't even on the map. Why would you tell me that when you know it doesn't offer the same value? It doesn't offer the same value as silver and gold. So I'm going to end with this. A good friend of mine, bless her heart, she's from Singapore. She asked me, she said, okay, why is it that gold would be seen less valuable than Bitcoin? I mean, gold is tangible. She says gold is tangible. You can touch it. You know, you can grab it, whatever. It's tangible, whereas this is digital. What is it that gives it more value? Is it the idea? It comes down to supply and demand. I want to give you something to really think about, all right? Take a look at this. This is a graph of the United States gold reserves. And it says here that the United States averaged 8,134 tons of gold, okay? And if you want to know the value of that, I have it right here. The value of the United States gold reserves in 2023 was approximately $543.5 billion, okay? And they say it's the largest gold reserves in the world. This is what Trump would be reaching into if he was to liquidate some of that and rotate it into Bitcoin, all right? Again, $1 million is a magnet when you're making moves like this, not just from the United States, but if other countries like El Salvador do their own strategic Bitcoin reserves, okay? Here's the thing. I want you to take a moment to think about real world assets, or RWAs. This is something that is coming to the blockchain in the future. Gold, physical gold, will be on the blockchain, such as oil, silver, like natural gas. Check this out. I want you to imagine what gold would look like if it was a cryptocurrency. Think for a moment about what these stats would look like. If gold, the real world asset, was on the blockchain. We know that the United States has 8,100 tons in their reserves. But think about what that means in terms of the circulating supply. I personally never have heard of a gold shortage, right? Sure, you've had parlors and dealers who may be short, but I've never heard of an actual gold shortage. What do you think the circulating supply would be if it was a cryptocurrency? Like if each ounce was one coin, what would you say the circulating supply would be? You know, I'm thinking easily over 20 billion coins. Think about this. What do you think the max supply would be? Right? Because normally when you look up a cryptocurrency, if there's no max supply, it's just dashes. That's what I would think gold is. Because I understand that gold is a finite resource, but god dang, they sure can dig it up, can't they? I don't know, man. Every time I turn around, there's somebody new cracking open a mountain, finding gold. There's somebody who's got access to this and
Hey, take a look.
yeah, so we just got let me see. Okay, so like look, Bitcoin just crossed previous week's high, okay? And I told you I was looking at how this would act, all right? So look at how price is treating that level, okay? But yeah, back to what I was saying. They sure can find this stuff when they need it, right? But it's supposed to be finite. It's supposed to be this finite commodity. Well, here's something that I didn't even know. Look at this. Gold industry, this is from Bitcoin News. This was in 2020. Gold industry shaken as 83 tons of fake gold bars used to secure $2 billion in loans in China. So you got China using 83 tons of gold that's not even real in order to get $2 billion in loans. If these dealers who are doing these transactions can't even tell between a real gold bar and a fake gold bar, you now have a situation where not only do you have a large supply of real gold circulating, but now you've got fake gold mixed in with the real gold, which does what? It dilutes the value. This is something that can't happen with Bitcoin. You can't create fake Bitcoin and send it through the consensus protocol. It won't even enter a block. You cannot do a double transaction. Double spend method won't happen. Now you can fork it and create all the currencies you want, but it'll never be Bitcoin. That's just how the code works. But here we are with the boomers thinking, man, gold is the best thing. This is your hedge. And we got countries counterfeiting it, affecting supply, and causing uncertainty and distrust in a market that's supposed to be a vehicle against inflation. It's crazy. But this is all they had, right? This is all the boomers had to look at as value. So when something as revolutionary as Bitcoin comes out, they fight, defend, and bite because all their wealth is in it. Who knows how much wealth some people have in fake gold? Don't even get me started on silver. I mean, silver's used for everything. If it wasn't, listen, if I didn't know any better, I think there is an infinite supply of silver, hence its price. Let's talk about oil, right? The Petroleum Reserves. Take a look back at the infographic. 372 million barrels is what the United States has in its reserves. So if you could imagine oil as a cryptocurrency, right? If you could put oil on the blockchain, what do you think the stats would look like? Because every time I turn around, they're digging up new oil. There was a point in history where oil is considered liquid gold. And what does Trump say? Oh, we got a lot of it. We got a lot of oil. We're going to dig, baby, dig. Why? Because we have an excess supply. This is what I'm talking about, guys. Think about what the circulating supply of oil would look like as a cryptocurrency. Billions of coins with no max supply, because even though we know natural gas, let me tell you something. I get natural gas every time I go to Chipotle. But when we're talking about oil, crude oil and gas, petroleum, nobody knows how much we actually have. They just dig and find the stuff. So you can't even put a cap on it. For all we know, we could have all the oil we need for the next 100 years. Nobody knows. That's not the case with Bitcoin. That's what makes it such a phenomenal, superior asset. It's scarcity. And the fact that you know the max amount that can be made. This is why I see Bitcoin going to $1 million. Boomers are starting to wake up, guys. We've been patient with them. I know it takes a long time, but they understand it now. And Charlie Munger, I'm sorry, he passed away in November 28th. Okay, rest in piss. But again, he's just another talking head with a lot of influence he's prevented so many people who follow him through Berkshire Hathaway and whatnot, and his many, many talks that have missed out on revolutionary technology because they didn't know any better. And instead of doing research like Larry Fink, Larry Fink. Instead of doing research like Larry Fink and actually understanding what it is that you're looking at, what it is that you're actually dealing with, they didn't even try. Oh, it's crypto crapo, and I don't want it. You know what I'm saying? Even Peter Schiff turned a new leaf because he understands what the underlying technology is. And this is the absolute number one advocate for gold. Oh, the Bitcoin stocks, they're doing great, and there's other stocks and Bitcoin's getting clobbered. No one's buying. And now even he's doing tweets about how Bitcoin's making headlines. It is the real deal. So this video is going on long enough, but I hope I've shown you enough evidence as to why Bitcoin will be $1 million. And if no one has given you the heads up, I want you to just hear me out right now. Next year, I'm working on getting 0.1 Bitcoin so that I can see $100,000 in my private wallet. As more countries do strategic Bitcoin reserves, I understand that something's going to happen that cannot happen through gold, silver, natural gas, oil, uranium, platinum, helium. It's the amount that's surfacing around. There's only and will ever only be 21 million Bitcoin. And we actually will always have less than that when you account for the many hard drives that have been lost, broken, wallets that are unattainable and gone forever. In the code, it doesn't work like a gift card, okay? If you have Bitcoin on a hard drive that just goes unused for 5-10 years, the code doesn't just go up, unused funds go back to the government or back into the pool. No, it doesn't work like that. Those funds are gone forever. So if you're with me, get yourself a hardware wallet, something like Ledger. I'm not sponsored, okay? Do your due diligence. Get a proper ledger from the official website. Set it up. Get yourself 0.1 Bitcoin. 10% of the current price, and just hold it. And every month, log into your wallet, update the firmware, keep up with the firmware updates, because that's where a lot of people went wrong back in 2013, 2014 is they had their Bitcoin sitting in these wallets that were cold storage, but come to find out, development stopped for those wallets, and thus they weren't able to move their funds or get it off. There's always going to be a period where you have time to move funds if you ever needed to, in the event that the company you're working with is going out of business, okay? Just recently, KuCoin did that, where KuCoin no longer serves the U.S. as an exchange. But I logged in one day, and I saw that they were allowing U.S. customers to withdraw their funds before a certain date, which I think it was like December 16th or something like that, whatever it was. They allowed customers who are in the U.S. to make a withdrawal, no questions asked, get your money, and that's it. You're done, right? So same thing with the wallet. But I believe Ledger is here for the long run. But in the event that they shut down, I just log in, withdraw to another wallet that I have the keys to, okay? Don't be like Charlie Munger, guys. And don't be like Jim Cramer and the rest of these people that missed out by acting crazy and foolish because they didn't do any research, okay? $1 million is a magnet, all right? There's a study that was done where if, I think it's like 2% of all of gold, the gold reserves goes into Bitcoin, it's like, it'll be 890 something thousand a coin. I need to double check. I don't have that statistic up right now. But I don't even think that needs to happen. I think more and more people, more and more countries are waking up, and we will see $1 million Bitcoin. So this is your chance now to prepare and be on the other side to do what it is you want to do when you see that 100K in your wallet, if you can get that amount. I hope you enjoyed this video. I apologize of the length. I hope I provided value, and I will see you in the next one.